What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Cage My IQ. Today, I am doing my UFC 285 picks and predictions. This is headlined by the vacant heavyweight championship title match between the returning John Jones versus Ciryl Gane. Of course, before we get into any of the action, this is Cage My IQ, the best place for MMA content and wrestling content. All you gotta do is follow us on social media. As you see right there, follow and subscribe on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. The Twitter handle is at CageIQ, so give us a follow on Twitter. And then you can follow us on YouTube at Cage My IQ. All you need to do is smash the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell on the YouTube channel so that you get all the notifications for all the new episodes that we put out when we put them out. And then, of course, smash the like button down below and hit us up in the comment section. Let me know who you're going with on UFC 285 this Saturday and give me any insights on what bets you got going on. As always, I'll be putting out my betting card on Friday after the weigh-ins, just in case there's any, of course, missed weights or cancellations, but I'll be putting that out on Friday. Didn't go as well this Saturday with one of the cancellations being the main event. Ryan Spann and Krylov came down with the sickness, so that fight got postponed and pushed to March 14th, I believe it is. No, March 11th on UFC Fight Night. So I might be moving that bet to that week. So I only had two bets other than that, and I went one-on-one on those. So 500, I went even with my unit count. Wasn't as great as the last week, but we weren't in the negatives, so we'll take it, move on to this week, and we'll see what we can do with this pay-per-view card, which is years in the making because of the return of John Bones Jones. But let's get into the action here. As you see there, we got a 14-fight MMA bout. It's going to take place at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, on pay-per-view. Let's move to the first fight that we have on the prelims. We got a lightweight matchup between Luke Radchabov going up against Esteban Ribovics. This is going to be an interesting matchup. They both have an aggressive style. Of course, if you remember Luke Radchabov, he is from the PFL. He made it far in both seasons, the last one being in the finals where, of course, he got upset by Roush Manfio in that 5-round lightweight main event. What a style that he has. Luke has that pressure and boxing style where he likes to pressure forward, throw shots at his opponent, get them to move back, and then he uses a little bit of his grappling as like a secondary move when they get pushed up and against the fence to try and take them down and look for ground and pound or submission entries. He has, I believe it's like 8 knockouts on his resume along with 8 submissions. So he can get you from both the grappling and the striking aspect, but so can his opponent Esteban Ribovics, who has that power style moving forward. He has big-time knockout power. He's very aggressive. He likes to rush into the pocket. And sometimes when he does that, he rushes into the clinch, and then he looks for submissions where he pulls you to the mat and gets you to tap out. Almost 90% of his wins are by finish, so he likes to get his work done inside the distance, but he does have a couple decision victories on his resume. I'm going to go with the more proven fighter, in my opinion, and that's Luke Radchabov. I think that time in PFL was really big for him. He fought some great competition there. He was tested there. I like his cardio a little bit more. I like the fact that he's fought 2 or 3 5-round fights, which is big because it tests your cardio out and it allows you to work on how you produce and what you push out. And he's a little bit more of a striker where he will pick and choose his spots so he doesn't tire out. And then he looks to use that forward pressure as a way to make his opponents work. The more you move back, the more you waste energy. It's going to be a close fight, but I got Luke Ratchabov winning by unanimous decision victory in this first bout on the card. Moving on to the next bout, we got a bantamweight matchup between Farid Basharat versus Damon Blackshear. This is the other brother of the to Javid Basharat. It's Farid Basharat. He's going up against Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear is a forward-moving fighter. He has pretty decent striking, but he's known for getting into the clinch and looking for those submission entries. He has that wrestling and jiu-jitsu background. He has high-level jiu-jitsu. Majority of his wins are by submission. He will get into the clinch, lock in one of those guillotines on you, pull you to the mat, and either look to finish you with that or look to use that to transition to side guard or to the back of his opponent. But a lot of what he does is primarily wearing his opponent out. He uses those entries to make his opponent use a lot of their energy. He has a lot of strength, so he can hold his opponents to the mat. It's all about just opposing his will to tire out the opponent to then eventually finishing them. His striking is ever improving. He likes to mix the overhands with the high kick or the calf kick, but it's all about the ground game and the clinch guard with Damon Blackshear. And he's going up against a guy in Farid Basharat, who is a really good point fighter. Just like his brother, they're looking to fight you from a distance, throwing those calf kicks, throwing those side kicks, mix it in the jab to keep the range, and then throwing those hooks. But it's all predicated on just pushing up the volume, pushing up the pressure on their opponent, never giving them a good look at them, and to use that really good takedown defense to keep the fight standing. Because that's what's going to be the big deal in this matchup. Can Blackshear take Farid down to the mat, or will Farid keep the fight standing? I think the minus 525 a mark on Basharat is right for the fact, because as long as he gets the fight standing and keeps it there, he's going to just pick apart Blackshear. We've seen Blackshear when he's standing up training with opponents that his striking defense isn't that well, and the Basharats have really good takedown defense. So I see the fight standing up. I see him picking apart Blackshear, and I got Farid Basharat by decision in this matchup. I'm going to stay away from him likely when it comes to betting, because that 525 mark is too big for me. If I think that it's going to be close to where it will be a decision, I might play the decision one if it's good enough to use. But for right now, I'm staying away from this fight when it comes to betting. Moving on to the next fight on the card, we got a women's strawweight battle between Jessica Penney going up against Tabitha Ricci. Jessica Penney is plus 235, whereas Tabitha Ricci is plus 300. Jessica Penney, her striking is mainly the reason that she is always an underdog in the majority of her fights, because there's not much to it. She throws a lot of singular shots, overhand style, but a lot of her fight game is predicated on that judo, jiu-jitsu background. She looks to take the fight to the ground and then look for those submission entries to choke her opponent out, or she just looks to get on top and do a little bit of ground and pound and control to them to wear them out, to where she can either win by decision or she can get a very good position from that to choke them out, like I said before. But she's going up against a strong opponent in Tabitha Ricci. She is 2-1 in the UFC. Of course, she had that very tough short notice debut against Manon Fiorot, where she moved up a weight class to take the fight, because it was a fight in the UFC, so you're going to take those shots. And she held her own in that fight, but she got dominated in rounds 2 and 3. But a lot of her game is her power striking. She likes to throw good combinations. And then the judo style. She gets within the clinch. She throws you to the mat, and then she does a ground and pound or transition in to better position for any spots that she can use to get the finish here. Her last two fights were wins. The last fight, of course, against Polyana Viana, she didn't look as strong, but with that judo takedown game and the striking, she was able to come out victorious via decision. It was kind of close coming to the end, but she did get rounds 1 and 3 on the scoring cards to pick up the victory there. I see her keeping the fight standing, throwing their shots, and then looking to only take the fight down when it's in a better position for her. But I got Tabitha Ritchie coming in here. It's actually minus 300 and not, of course, plus 300 there. But I got Tabitha Ritchie on this one. I might take a stab at Tabitha Ritchie by decision there because I feel like you're going to get plus money there, and I feel like she should be the heavy favorite. So I might look at Tabitha Ritchie by decision on the cards for that one. Moving on to the next fight on the card, we got a men's bantamweight matchup between Mana Martinez plus 240 versus Cameron Simon minus 310. You got Mana Martinez coming into this one with a karate background. I believe he is 2-1 or 2-2 in his UFC career. He has his 2 split decision victories that he has, and then he has his 2 losses, one which is by a decision. He has that karate background. He's a point fighter. He was known for being a knockout artist on the regional scene. It just hasn't translated. It's coming into the UFC and getting promoted. That it's all about just getting the volume game up, doing enough to beat his opponent on the judges' scorecards. There hasn't been anything flashy. He likes to mix up the different type of leg kicks with the jab and overhand shots. But he's going up against a guy with explosive style and nature in Cameron Simon. I love those different style leg kicks he throws. He throws the calf kick, the front kick, and the kick to the leg. He'll mix in a jab, but and the overhand shot. But he has knockout power. He likes to explode into every situation that he's going into. He manages the cardio well. The one weakness that I've seen with him with the last 3 fights has been his takedown offense, where he's been easily taken down, but then he's usually been able to reverse position and get on top of those opponents where he picks and chooses his ground and pound shots, so he doesn't use a lot of his energy. He's very good at maintaining that cardio and keeping it at tip top so he can land very good shots and finishing fights later in a fight if it gets to that point, because a lot of his fights have been ended early in like the first or early second round. But going into this one, he's not going to have to worry about the ground game. So I'm going heavy Cameron Simon in this one. I think he gets it done inside the distance. I think he knocks him out, Mana Martinez out in the first round. I just think he's a faster fighter. The explosiveness helps, and he has that knockout power. So we've seen Mana Martinez get dinged a couple of times in fights, but I think Cameron Simon's the better prospect, and he has the better tools to get the job done. So I'm going with Cameron Simon in this one. Moving on to the next fight on the card, we got a welterweight matchup between Ian Machado Gary, who is the minus 725 favorite, going up against Kenan Sung, who's the plus 500 underdog. You got Ian Gary, who has that precision boxing. He has great movement. He likes to jump around and keep the movement going. I just love the jab that he uses, the hooks, the uppercuts. He just pulls in a lot of volume, and he has very good cardio. He knows how to manage his shots. He knows not to overrush things. He's patient. And for a guy this young, you don't see that often, where they pick and choose their spots at times, and they can get off a lot of output in just a 3-round fight. And he's going into a tough matchup against Kenan Sung, who has power in his hands. He has good grappling. He has good movement, but he he has knockout power with that boxing skill. In that fight against Calvin Potter, he showcased it. He was just patient, just throwing those shots. He was finding the openings, and he knocked him to the mat and finished him there. He did have like a bad last fight against Max Griffin where he got knocked out, but we know who Max Griffin is, and he is a guy with explosive power. And one weakness Son has is he just gets himself into car crash fights where they just go blow for blow. And at times he's going to get knocked out, but then at other times he's going to knock his opponent out. But in this one, I think that Ian Gary's just his movement, pressure, just volume output is going to be too much for Sung. I think Ian Gary's going to avoid those big shots from Kanun Sung. He's going to land a lot of volume, and this fight's going to go to distance, I feel like. And the longer the fight goes, the more it favors Gary, because I think his cardio is a lot better than Sung's. They've talked about Kanun Sung's cardio being one of his weaknesses as the fight goes on in his last 5 fights, and that's going to play into Ian Gary's playhouse there. So I got Ian Gary by decision in this matchup. I feel like Kanun Sung is going to go guns blazing early, looking for the early finish, and if he doesn't get that, Ian Gary's going to dominate this fight with just the angles and the movement that he can throw at. So I got Ian Gary by unanimous decision victory in this prelim welterweight matchup. Moving on to the next prelim matchup, we got a fun middleweight matchup between Julian Marquez, who's the plus 130 underdog, going up against Marc-Andre Barriault, who's the minus 155 favorite. I'm going to go with the underdog here and Julian Marquez. We got Marc-Andre Barriault, who has that striking background. He throws a lot of leg kicks, and then he uses those leg kicks to mix in his jab and overhand shots. It's all predicated on using his legs as much as possible. He's pretty decent in the clinch with those knees and the elbows, but he's all about circling around his opponent, throwing those leg kicks, slowing him down, and then racking up the volume. He's been known lately to get knocked out in fights, so sometimes being the moving around and not being explosive, it's worked against him, but then other times it's worked in his favor. And he's gone up against a guy in Marquez who has that knocked out power. He did lose in his last fight to RoboCop Gregory Rodriguez, but I felt like that was just a bad game plan of train shots in the paint with Rodriguez. It was a car crash type matchup where they just throw at each other in the clinch, and it wasn't smart of him to do that. I don't think he's going to do that moving forward. I think he's going to pick and choose his spots. He's going to look to get into the clinch, and I really love his jiu-jitsu grappling game in this type of matchup. I feel like Marquez can get the fight to the ground, and submission is a very sneaky play in this one because I feel like he can stun Marc-Andre Barriault with one of those overhand shots and then get him down and look for one of those chokes. I'm going with him in this one. I'm going with second round rear naked choke submission over Marc-Andre Barriault. I think he stuns him, and then he looks to take the back of Marc-Andre when he's stunned, and then he looks for the choke for victory. So I got Julian Marquez win this one by second round submission. Moving on to the next fight here, we got a women's flyweight matchup between Viviane Araújo plus 100 going up against Amanda Ribas minus 120. This is going to be a big-time women's matchup. Basically, the winner is going to keep the job, and the loser likely is going to have to look elsewhere. I think this fight's going to be predicated on whether Ribas can get the fight to the ground or not. She has the better overall fight game. She has very good grappling. She has ever-improving striking, whereas, of course, Viviane Araújo has the one-punch power. She throws the singular shots. Sometimes she'll throw 1-2s, but it's all predicated on using the power, stunning her opponents, and then she looks to get in the clinch and use that in Livre background that she has as a mixture of catch wrestling and judo, where she looks to get inside the clinch, uh, throw them to the mat, opponent to the mat, and then do a lot of ground and pound and work on the ground. She's very strong and she's very uh, good at known to get multiple takedowns to wear her opponent out. And I think that's going to play a big factor here. But I'm still going to lean towards Amanda Ribas in this matchup. I just feel like the ground game's going to be the favorite part for her to get Araujo to the ground, control her on the mat, and then look to submit her and to just throw those shots and to wear out Araujo's gas tank that's been a problem later in fights for her against top town. They both have not done well against the top 5, top 10 in the division, but I think Amanda Ribas has the potential to improve because I think it's just a striking that needs to be improved. And as long as she doesn't think that she needs to get into like a bar fight with Viviane Araujo and just trade shots with her, I got Amanda Ribas taking this one by third round submission. I think she gets up to the mat and gets her with either a rear naked choke or guillotine. But I think she's going to limit the striking on the feet, limit the chances Viviane Araujo can get thrown at her, and she's going to take her down multiple times, wear her out, and then get her for the finish late in the third round. But if she keeps the fight standing, Viviane Araujo has a chance of knocking her out because the one thing that Amanda Ribas has done is get knocked out with that bad chin of hers. So I'm going with Amanda Ribas. I do like the minus 120 odds, but I wouldn't be surprised if Araujo can catch her early and get her out before she can get the ground game going. But I'm going Amanda Ribas in this matchup. Moving on to one of my most favorite matchups on the card, we got a middleweight men's matchup between Derek Brunson plus 185 versus Dricus du Plessis minus 200. You got Derek Brunson, who is a knockout artist. As you see there, he's blonde haired. Now, this is one of his last fights in the UFC before he retires. When he started out in the UFC, the first 5-6 fights, he was all about going for the knockout and throwing those overhand shots. But once he got on that losing streak, he changed things up. He dyed his hair blonde, and then he started using that wrestling background of his. It's all about the wrestle heavy takedown game, get the fight to the mat, ground and pound, wear his opponents out, and then if they stand back up to look for the knockout shot. But it's all predicated on forward pressure, using the wrestle and getting the fight into your house and not letting them get their striking going. But then you got Dricus du Plessis, who has that grappling background, has that very solid striking. He has that kickboxing background. He's going to pour in a lot of volume on you. He's mixed in the takedowns, judo style from time to time in fights. The one knock against him, though, is he tends to use a lot of energy in the first round to try and get the fight finished. And then he'll take the second round off. He'll be sluggish, but he still throws. The cardio might not be there, but he's still going to throw regardless. It's just going to be more slow and more like of a tell that you see that he's coming with a strike. But he still comes. But in the third round, he tends to get that energy back, and then he just goes guns blazing in the last round. And this fight's going to be very close, I feel like. A lot of people are going to be on Derek Brunson because of the price and because of his wrestling, since Dricus du Plessis has been known to be taken down and controlled several times. But I'm going to go with Dricus du Plessis in this matchup. I think he gets it done inside the distance. One thing people forget is the chin of Derek Brunson. He doesn't have that great of a chin, and Dricus du Plessis can catch him within the pocket. And I think you can go both ways with that. But I think at the age and then the power, I think the power goes to Dricus du Plessis, whereas the grappling goes with Derek Brunson. I think if Derek Brunson was smart, he'd look to grapple in this fight, keep the fight in the ground, and do a lot of ground and pound and transition work to wear out Dricus du Plessis early and often. But I don't think he's going to do this. I think he's going to try and go out guns blazing as one of his last fights. He's going to look to knock out Dricus du Plessis. But I'm going Dricus du Plessis, getting this fight done inside the distance with a knockout. I think he gets the victory, and I'm going to play that on one of my parlays there. I think getting him at the odds of a knockout will put it in the plus. So that's going to be one of my plays for the week is him money line and then him by KO inside the distance. So I'm going with Dricus du Plessis by knockout second round in this matchup. Moving on to the prelim main event, we got a men's bantamweight matchup between Cody Garbrandt, the minus 175 favorite, going up against Trevin Jones, the plus 148 underdog. Trevin Jones has a very well-rounded overall game. He's a good striker. He's a good grappler. He has good movement. He has good cardio. But he's going up against Cody Garbrandt. This is going to be one of those matchups where it's either going to be vintage Cody Garbrandt or we're going to get an upset with Trevin Jones taking this fight on short notice and getting the upset victory over Garbrandt because Trevin Jones took this fight on 2 weeks' notice in place of Julio Arce. We got Cody Garbrandt, who is a very dynamic striker. He has knockout power, great movement. He has great pace. He's great throwing within the clinch. He has great cardio. It's just one of his big weaknesses is his chin. And then the fact that he fights with emotion. His emotions get the better of him. Clouds his judgment, and then he goes for the knockout. Doesn't look to use his head, and then he puts himself in scenarios where he gets hit very easily because he's too busy looking for the KO victory and leaves those openings open for his opponent to catch him with easy shots. But I think we're going to get Cody Garbrandt that we know and love back to normal. I think he changed camps, which is a big thing. He's added little nuances to his game plan now. He knows he needs to get a victory here. He needs to get back into the swing of things. So I think it's going to be more of him, less looking for the knockout and more looking to throw strikes, keep the movement going, and keep Trevin Jones guessing. And then if there is an opening, he's going to use it. But I don't think his emotions are going to get the better of him. There's no reason for he's fighting somebody that he doesn't hate and is just there because he needs an opponent. And I think he gets the job done. I think it's Cody Garbrandt by decision in this matchup. I think he's going to be the faster guy, better striking, better movement. He's going to be the taller opponent. As long as he doesn't make those bonehead mistakes that he usually uses, Cody Garbrandt should easily win this by decision. Trevin Jones is a smart fighter. I think he's going to look to clinch up and throw within that, throw those knees and elbows, but there's just not anything that stands out for him that I think is going to play a factor in him getting that upset victory. So I'm going with Cody Garbrandt by decision in this matchup. Moving on to the main card, we got the middleweight matchup between Jamie, the Nightwolf Pickett, who's plus 900, going up against the Prodigy, Bo Nickel, minus 2,000. I'm going to keep this one quick. I got Bo Nickel by first round submission. Jamie Pickett's very well rounded with his kickboxing. He throws a lot of good leg kicks. He has good pace. He has good movement. He has good cardio. It's just that he is very passive. He's not aggressive. He looks to just push you up against the cage and then throw leg kicks. And he mixes in minimal striking on top of that. And then he's going to look to take the fight to the mat and ground and pound you. But I think that doesn't mix well with a guy like Bo Nickel, who has a high jiu-jitsu and high wrestling background, who has come on the scene very good. He's a finisher. He has that factor. He was able to out-grapple Gordon Ryan, which is a big thing because Gordon Ryan is one of the best grapplers in all of MMA or in jiu-jitsu. And I think he gets the finish in the first round, just like he did in the contender series, rushing the opponent, throwing a few strikes, jumping on the back of them, and then choking them. He has that IQ where he thinks 2 steps ahead of his opponent. and he's able to get the finish just like that with taking minimal damage and without the threat of the striking from Jamie Pickett, in my opinion, because Pickett throws 75% leg kicks. I think he's going to come in guns blazing. He's not going to think about the striking of Jamie Pickett. He's not going to fear it. He's going to take the back of him, pull him to the mat, and he's going to get the quick submission in this one to get his UFC career started with a bang. That minus 2,000 odds, it's too high to play. There's no way, even if you think he wins by submission, it's still going to be too high to play. So I'm going to stay away from him on any of my cards. But I do think he gets it done with the first round submission over Jamie Pickett. Moving on to the next fight, I think this is going to be a fight of the night, or one of the fights of the night. We got a lightweight battle between Mateusz Gamrot, the minus 220 favorite, going up against Jalen Turner, plus 175. It was supposed to be Jalen Turner versus Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker broke his hand, I believe. So then Mateusz Gamrot took this fight on 2-3 weeks' notice. I think this is a case where the second matchup winds up being better than the original scheduled matchup on the card. You got Mateusz Gamrot, who's a pressure fighter. He's always rushing into the clinch. He has great sambo wrestling background, and then he has great boxing. He predicates himself on rushing inside the pocket, throwing those quick strikes, and then taking the fight to the mat and looking for submissions. He's very octane. He averages 2 to 3 takedowns a fight. He did slip up against Beneil Dariush. He kind of showcased maybe a weakness in his game where rushing in isn't so great against somebody who is very good at point fighting or fighting from a distance, because you rush in, they throw a strike, they stop your momentum, and then they get their striking and combinations going, and you start forcing takedowns or forcing entries, and it just benefits your opponent. And against a guy who's going to have the height and reach advantage in Jalen Turner, that might go into play. A lot of people are picking Gamrot because of Jalen Turner's past with being taken down. But we've seen a different Jalen Turner in the last 3-4 fights. He has 4 straight finishes inside the distance, whether it's the 2 knockouts or the 2 submissions. Ever since moving to lightweight, he has added the jiu-jitsu background to his game. He trains with the Gracies now. He wanted to kind of diversify his fight game, because he was primarily a boxer striker before, but now he has that jiu-jitsu background to go on top of it. He can use that length and that reach to get those guillotines that he's finished his opponents on after throwing strikes and stunning them. This is going to be a highly contested matchup. It's going to be, can Mateusz Gamrot get inside the clinch of Turner and take him down, or can Turner keep the movement moving around, throw those shots from the distance, because he has the reach, and rack up the volume and force Mateusz Gamrot to make bad decisions? Or is the fight going to go a different way? This is one of the toughest matchups to pinpoint, but I'm going to lean with the underdog here. I'm going to go Jalen Turner here, because I feel like he can dictate the pace of the fight with his leg kicks. He's going to throw a lot of calf kicks, a lot of kicks to the side of the ribs. He's going to look to slow down Gamrot. He's going to circle around, avoid those takedowns, and then he's going to throw those overhand shots. I think he's going to look to look for those entries to the of course face of Gamrot when he's shooting. He might throw a couple uppercuts to keep Gamrot from getting inside the clinch there. I think it's all about keeping the fight at distance for him, where Gamrot's going to look to shoot inside. But at times, Gamrot telegraphs his takedown entries. And I think Jalen Turner's going to throw those knees inside to keep him from wanting to do so. So I'm going with Jalen Turner to win this one by decision. I think he outvolumes Gamrot. He might get taken down once or twice, but I think the volume game's going to outdo the 2 takedowns in the game of Gamrot in this one. So look for Jalen Turner to pull off the upset here and that'd be that big upset to get him inside that top 8 to look for a better matchup in the lightweight division. So once again, Jane Turner by decision. Let's move on to the feature bout here. We got a men's welterweight matchup between Jeff Neal plus 365 underdog going up against Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is the minus 525 favorite. Jeff Neal has a high level boxing background. He throws a lot of combinations. He has great cardio. He has great movement. In that last fight against Vicente Luque, he showed that explosiveness. He just broke the will of Vicente Luque. He always is coming at his opponents. I love the jab. I love the hook and the cross that he throws. And then he's relentless. He'll throw 2, 3, 4, 5 punch combinations. Whereas he's going up against a guy who is very quiet but very dominating in Shavkat. He has that kickboxing, Muay Thai, and Jiu-Jitsu background. It reminds me, of course, of a guy in the division up at the top, of course. But he's a less talking and more shower. He has all of his fights end in finishes, whether submission or knockout. He has that length. He uses the distance game very well. He throws a lot of leg kicks and a lot of shots over the top of his opponent. But he rushes in there, and he loves going into the clinch, throwing those knees and elbows, and then looking to get that guillotine or rear naked choke on the back of his opponent when they're stunned or trying to get in what's going on. And that's the big thing here. He is one of the best overall fight games, and people don't know about it because he's not flashy. He's not big time. He doesn't talk that much on social media. He just goes in there, does the job, gets the finish, and then walks back out. And that's why he's at that fringe of the top 15 because of that. But he's coming in here. I see Jeff Neal coming in, looking to get those combinations thrown early. He's going to look the pressure up on Shavkat, try and get inside his face and throw those shots. But then Shavkat's just going to circle around him to the weak side of his hand, throw those leg kicks, throw those overhand shots. He's going to just use that distance game to pick apart Jeff Neal. And I got Shavkat Rakhmonov win this one by third round submission via rear naked choke. I think he gets it done. I think just the overall game plan of picking apart your opponent is going to take place here. He's going to push him up against the cage, throw those knees to Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal's not going to like those. As long as Jeff Neal doesn't get the control of the octagon and he starts just unloading on Shavkat, I think this should be easy fight for Shavkat to pick apart Jeff Neal. And the minus 525 odds, I don't like that much. If you can get the inside the distance odds very well to at least minus 125 or so, I would take a stab at it because of his 100% finish rate. But if it isn't under minus 200, I'm leaving it alone. I'm going to the next fight on the card because I don't like those odds that much. Try to take advantage of them. But I do think Shavkat wins inside the distance by submission, and I'm going round 3. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening, we got the UFC Women's Flyweight Championship between Valentina Shevchenko going up against Alexa Grasso. You got minus 750 for Shevchenko, and then you got plus 475 for Grasso. Grasso's coming in here. She has that striking boxing background, and then she has the high-level jiu-jitsu background. When she throws, she likes to throw inside the pocket. She likes to throw that jab and the cross. She likes to get inside, and of course, she likes to use that to lean into the clinch, where she clinches up against the fence, pulls her opponents down, and then she likes to control them on the mat, look for submission entries, or look for just control. She looks to wear her opponents out. But it's all about staying within the clinch and inside the pocket. Anything outside of the pocket, she struggles with. And that's where it's going to benefit Valentina Shevchenko, who, of course, She is one of the big timers in the UFC. She has that kickboxing, Muay Thai, and jiu-jitsu background. You see a lot of her dance and ballerina movements, and that's how she moves so well from side to side because of that ballerina style. It keeps her moving. She has one of the best cardios in the division. She's able to transition from her Muay Thai to the kickboxing flawlessly. She puts out a lot of volume. She mixes her striking very well. You never see the same strike more than once. She mixes everything up. She looks to push the pace. She looks to keep her opponents guessing. She had one of the best takedown defenses in the game, and then it got kind of showcased that there are holes in her game where he can take her down and control on the mat. I thought that Talia Santos did a great job getting her to the mat and controlling her there, and then out voluming her. But of course, Shevchenko was able to pull out a decision victory over her, barely, with how much volume she was able to put out against Santos. And Santos is more of a grappler than Grasso, so you won't see that as much as you did in that fight, but you will see Grasso not fear her inside the pocket. I think when she gets up close to Shevchenko, she's going to win the trading of the shots. But as long as Valentina Shevchenko can keep the distance, throw those leg kicks, throw those overhand shots, and get back outside the pocket and just keep moving around for all 5 rounds, I feel like she should cruise to a victory here. I'm not sure if she gets the finish inside the distance or not, or if it goes to the decision. But I do think that Valentina Shevchenko gets the job done and defends her title here. This is one of those fights where this is probably the best you're ever going to get odds-wise for Shevchenko at minus 750. They're always minus 1,000 or more, but you get great odds. And they're still bad odds, but they're the best that you can get for at minus 750. But if, with that being said, that Valentina Shevchenko by decision could be very valuable. It could be very usable with bets. And if it can get closer to those even odds, I'm likely going to play Valentina Shevchenko by decision. I put a couple units on that because, of course, she should be a big-time favorite in this matchup. I just feel like her movement, her style, the cardio game, the distance striking is all in her favor. And as long as she doesn't let Grasso get inside of her, inside the pocket, she should cruise to easy victory in this co-main event fight. So I'm going with Valentina Shevchenko by decision over Alexa Grasso. Moving on to the main event of the evening. This is 3 years in the making since he's moved up to heavyweight. We got the UFC heavyweight championship matchup for the vacant heavyweight title. Francis Ngannou, of course, vacating it. The title last month. He's likely gone from the UFC for the time being, at least to do his own endeavors. But we got the returning John Jones, who is the minus 165 favorite, going up against Ciryl Gane, who's the plus 135 favorite. First to start off with Ciryl Gane. He has great cardio, great movement. He moves like a middleweight with how quick that he is. He has that kickboxing, Muay Thai, and jiu-jitsu background. He predicates his fights on staying within the distance from his opponent, throwing a lot of volume. He's very good at throwing the calf kick and then right away throwing the jab right afterwards. It gets back out distance, avoids shots. He's one of the best at the striking defense. He takes in the least amount of strikes out of all the heavyweights. The one weakness that he does have is he takes too many leg kicks. He doesn't take that many strikes to the face, but he will give up the leg kicks so he can push on forward and throw against his opponent at the face. He puts in a lot of volume. At times, they're not with power, but he's going to win the volume game majority of the time against his opponents. And he's very good within the clinch as well with those knees and the elbows. But He's all about staying distance away, moving around, outpacing his opponent, and then out voluming them. And then you got, of course, John Jones, who's known for that big time, massive reach against his opponents at light heavyweight, and now he moves to heavyweight. So I'm interested to see how his cardio does with the move up. He has had 3 years of working his body up to it, so it shouldn't be as bad of a transition as other people are. But he has that wrestling background, jiu-jitsu background. He has that kickboxing background. He's going to throw a lot of kicks at Ciryl Gane. He's going to look to just splurge right into the pocket with those strikes. He has a really good jab. He has a good hook. He's all about movement, and he's all about keeping the move outside to outside. He's never trying to be in the same spot twice in a 2-minute span. And this, to me, this is kind of almost like a mirror of each other, where they're similar fighters, but in different scenarios. And John Jones might look to exploit the takedown defense issues of Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane has been able to be taken down by a guy like Francis Ngannou, and he hasn't fought up against wrestlers or grapplers. Majority of Ciryl Gane's opponents have been strikers, so it makes you wonder what's going to happen in this fight when he gets clinched up and in the clinch. And then you have John Jones, who's going to throw those knees at him, throw those elbows, pressure up against him, look to take him down, and then do the top guard on him. He's been training with Henry Cejudo, work on that, known that he's going to fight a guy like Ciryl Gane, who isn't going to be very well in the clinch. But I'm going to go with John Jones by decision in this matchup. A lot of people are going to be on the Ciryl Gane side because of the volume output, but we got to remember John Jones is a high volume striker as well. He's good at the distance game. He might have the bigger reach in this fight, and then he has great cardio. He has the 5-round fight advantage. He's fought in over 10 main events or 5-round fights, whereas Ciryl Gane has only fought in, I believe, 2, maybe 3 of them. So he's going to have that advantage. He's fought a slew of different types of fighters, whereas Ciryl Gane has only fought against strikers. So he's going to be able to use all that data to come up with the game plan to just out volume Gane, to get in the clinch up with him, throw strikes, limit what Ciryl Gane can do from distance by keeping the fight closer, keeping them closer together, so John Jones can throw more at him. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see the vintage elbow strikes of John Jones on Ciryl Gane. This might be a close fight, though. I could see this being like a 3-2 fight, but I don't see this fight being inside the distance. I think this is one of those style fights that should most certainly be a decision fight here, with how these two guys fight, and then how many fights have gone to decision amongst the two of these guys, because we've seen so many of them. And with that minus 165 odds, I'm more than likely going to play John Jones with this one money line, but then I'm also going to look at by decision as well. I feel like you're going to get great odds there. John Jones has never lost, where Ciryl Gane finally lost to Francis Ngannou, but it showcased a lot of stuff that John Jones can use against him. So this could be a coin flip type fight for a lot of people, but I'm going to go with the John Jones in this one by unanimous decision victory to become the heavyweight champion. And with those odds, that most certainly is playable here. I wouldn't be surprised if you see over 50% of people playing the odds on this fight with John Jones. But I'm going with John Jones by decision. That'll wrap things up with today's UFC 285 picks and predictions by yours truly, Cage My IQ. We will be back next week for our picks and predictions for UFC Fight Night. So be prepared to tune in next week for that video. But if you haven't done so already, watch this video. Please smash the like button down below. Hit us up in the comment section to the right. Let me know what you think of my picks and predictions for UFC 285. Let me know what bets you're going to make on this card. I'm looking forward to all the action and on this pay-per-view. And I'm looking forward to all the feedback from all you guys who are watching this video for the first time. But definitely smash the like button down below and hit us up in the comment section, like I said before. And then please, if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, and follow us on social media on Twitter at CageIQ, and then on at CageMyIQ on Instagram, so you can catch all the news and all the predictions for the UFC and for all wrestling. I will be back to do more wrestling content. We got, of course, we got AEW Revolution pay-per-view coming up, so I'll likely be putting out a video for that. Prediction-wise, might get somebody on here with me to do that. And then I'm going to do some more WWE and, of course, more Impact videos in the future. But, of course, other than that, I am your host, Cage. This is my UFC 285 picks and prediction show, and I will see you guys next time on Cage My IQ. Thanks for tuning in.